excellent introduction to overview of the situation in Kashmir. Ashish Das' ending paragraph is my very own introduction for Professor Sthaneshwar Timalsina, our next speaker. Professor Timalsina is a unique hybrid, a traditionally trained pundit in the Kashmiri school. He has studied his whole life, beginning with the Vedas at the age of 6. His Kashmiri gurus had relocated to Benares quite a while ago, and his PhD is from Germany, which allows him to navigate east and west. He has great knowledge of the Kashmiri philosophical traditions, and I'm pleased to welcome him to the stage.
उद्यत गौराङ्कुरविकसितैः श्यामरक्तैः पलाशैः अन्तर्गाढारुचिलसते केसराली विचित्रैः आकीर्णाभूप्रतिपदमसौ यत्र काश्मीरपुष्पैः सम्यक् देवी कृतयजनोद्यानमाविष्करोति सर्वो लोकः कविरथ बुधो यत्र शूरोऽपि वाग्मी चन्द्रोद्योतामसृणगतयः पौरनार्यश्च यत्राङ्गारोज्ज्वलविकसितानन्तसौषुम्नमार्ग ग्रस्तार्केन्दुर्गगनविमलो योगिनीनां च वर्गः. An 11th century philosopher, Abhinavagupta, speaking about his birthplace, Kashmir. I will go in depth if time allows, but since we have a long program and there are more important things to address than poetry. So I know some of you disagree, poetry is the best thing. What does Kashmir mean to me? And what does Kashmir mean for Hindu civilization? And what does Kashmir mean for the world? And these are, I think, bigger issues. And whatever time allows, I should focus on that. So if you look into Kashmir, the whole Indic civilization as a puzzle. And let us say Kashmir is just one piece of that big puzzle. Because a puzzle is an easy way to understand. You can take out some of the pieces and see what remains there. Any civilization is defined based on its philosophy, based on its literature, based on its music, and food. So if I were to take out Kashmir, let us see how much of that remains. But before that, civilizations also need history. In the entire Indic civilization, if you completely ignore what is written by the colonizers about the colonized people, the exact secular history writing, if you want to trace the exact secular history writing, you will have to go to Kalhana, Raja Tarangini. So let us take that out. What we will have left, we will have to go back a couple thousand years to Mahabharata. Mahabharata is history, but I can never say it is just history. There are narratives and stories and fairy tales and demons and all those. I cannot say that is a secular history. That's also philosophy. That's also moral book, codes of conduct. If you have to go to original history writing that happened in India, you have to go back to Kashmir. If we let's take that piece out and see, okay, history is gone. Now we will have literature. But literature is also founded on philosophy, literary theories. India has its own literary theories. You have a rasa theory, you have alankara theory, and you have dhwani theory. Each of these take long time, but all these theories were originated in Kashmir. There are names that would not take like more than 20 minutes just to repeat the names, starting with Kayata and Jalana and Kalhana and all these names. But Mammata's Kavya Prakasha is outstanding. And Abhinava Gupta's Dhanyaloka Ananda Vardhana's, the text itself of Dhanyalochana. So these are what have given the soul, the life, the heart for the poets even today writing poetry in the Indian ethos. They are still writing within that same platform of rasa, of alankara, and of dhwani. So let us take that out. There is no literature. Because once you take out literary theories, literatures are simply fairy tales and not even that. So there would be just a description, like some newspaper. So every literature is based on some philosophy. That philosophy comes from Kashmir. Literature, Sahitya Sangeeta Kala Vihinaha. So that is where I'm taking actually, for the rest of the India. If we were to take out Kashmir, there won't be literature. That I could call Hindu literature or Indic literature. That is not the literature either written by or inspired by the colonizers. Now goes to philosophy. Today we know more about Kashmir Shaivism thanks to Swami Lakshmanju and his students and many Western scholars. I have yet to thank actually Indic people themselves. In terms of world-affirming philosophies, let's start from the Buddhist philosophy. All the Buddhist philosophy was not composed in Kashmir. I would never say that. But the only philosophy that matters, that does not negate the world, that has asti in its composition, sarva asti vada. That is a product of Kashmir. So these Sarva Astivadins had such unique philosophy that they viewed the modes of time simultaneously existing. The past, present and future, all the modes simultaneously exist. That type of philosophy can, even today, is still hard to digest. We need parallel universe theory advance little further, and when the modern physics develops for another 50 years, then we will get there philosophically in the globe. That is where Kashmir was. And the Yogacara, you can see even in a Madhyamaka, Ratnakirti's text. So significant amount of Buddhist philosophy was composed in Kashmir. Not just that, these philosophers were really lived like people. That if you read the text of Abhinava Gupta and compare with Dharmakirti and some of these prominent philosophers, you know that they were sharing each other's text in a real time. Like unlike these days, you have publication and everybody can read. Those days people would write in a handwritten manuscripts and then first their students would read. But they had some mechanism. How do we know that? Based on citations and their actual time in history. One guy who is just 20 years, 25 years behind is already citing the books from the rival philosophies. So they were sharing open-heartedly with all the schools. Among the Vaishnavas, because we talk a lot about Shaivas, there was a unique Vaishnava tradition in Kashmir that again was a monastic, a non-dual type Vaishnavism. Because today, when we talk about Vaishnavism, it has been Advaita, a dualistic philosophy. So that branch evolved and survived for whatever time only in Kashmir. And finally, I will just come to Abhinavagupta and his lineage. So this non-dual Kashmir Shaivism, Trika, Shaiva, Trayambakavata, whatever the names we identify with, was inspired by, like the first philosophers were Vasu Gupta, Somananda, Kallata, and then Lakshmana Gupta, we have Abhinavagupta. And why is this philosophy unique? Every time, I did my PhD on Advaita Vedanta. There's a Kashmir Shaivism connection is very different, it's very personal to me. But I like to teach all the schools of Indian philosophy equally. For me, even Buddhist philosophy, I love it, and I like to teach equally. But as soon as I give a basic introduction, my Western American students love Kashmir Shaivism without any bias. Why do they like it? Because number one, modern world, modern West in particular, is not world denial. We want to have fun in the world. You know, like, okay, be the Buddha, go to cave, meditate, for this world is illusion, Maya, everything doesn't matter. Nobody is going to like that teacher. So, but when we have this, the world is a cosmic play, and you are the player, and you can make your own impact. And it's not about believing and worshipping this or that, it's affirming your own powers, energies, that is embedded to your own inherent, intrinsic reality. My students immediately jump, okay, this is the one I'm going to read more. So this is a very world-affirming philosophy that originated in Kashmir and developed in Kashmir. I forgot only one aspect on all. The South has made a tremendous contribution, even in today's world, to introduce Hindu civilization, that is Bharatanatyam. Today we go to Bharatanatyam more than to Mandir, or when we go to Mandir, even Bharatanatyam is a primary element. All the gods have one or another dancing pose called Bharatanatyam. So if you take out Bharatanatyam, you would have no idea even to understand the imagery of the gods, because they are in one or another mudra. That was not composed in Kashmir. It was written by Bharata Muni around 2nd century, and we do not know where it was composed, maybe in the south. But the book is almost illegible without a commentary. It needs interpretation. And that it's a lengthy book. You can have like a 5-volume of 1,000 pages. That lengthy book comes with the commentary of Abhinavagupta, again Kashmir. So we would have dance, people would be making gestures, but there would be no meaning. Because for meaning we need philosophy. Philosophy comes from Kashmir. So we would be dancing still, just like anybody dances these days. You can't ask, what does it mean? I mean, what a weird guy. I mean, like, I'm just dancing, what does it mean? Like, I'm just shaking, you know? So that is not what Bharatanatyam is. You know, like Rasa Shastra also originates in the writing of Bharata and in the commentary of Abhinavagupta. So if we were to take out all these pieces, what are we left with? We do still have yoga. Yes, Yoga Sutra, I do not know if it was written in Kashmir. But Yoga Vasishtha for sure was written in Kashmir. What is so unique about Yoga Vasishtha? This is the only book that so meticulously traces fatalism. I have not read like a whole chapter dedicated to destroy the idea that this is my fate. You write your destiny. It's like repeatedly, like in the conversation of Vasishtha and Rama, the book actually begins, the yoga book does not say whatever God has meant to you. No, you write your destiny. My professor in Germany, Walter Schleier, that was my connection actually, he spent, I admire his dedication, he spent 40 years of his life searching for the manuscripts, original manuscripts of the Yoga Vasishtha, and he found only in search of like 15, 18 years that the original name was Mokshopaya. So he brought out multiple chapters published, and I also got to work on the unedited manuscripts from Kashmiri Sharda script. So this is the way we think about India, the way we think about Hindu civilization. Sometimes we think territories are gone. Territories are very different things. There are 2-3 different ways a territory can be conceived. For a Kshatriya, for a ruler, a geographic territory is the most. That is the absolute. That is his truth. For a scholar, our territory is the world. We are not defined or determined by geographic parameters. We don't have that type of country. The whole entire world is our country. And so the philosophies these people gave, Rasa Shastra or Dhvani Shastra or Trika Darshana, these people wrote on, is not meant only for Kashmiri people, was not meant for the Hindus only or Indians only. They wrote, they were very universalist people. They didn't write dogma. They were absolutely open to have questioned every single thing they wrote about. They were having open debate. They welcomed people to trust their ideas. And so much so, when Abhinav Gupta in his book, what if this is like you are totally Buddhist gone and you are so wrong in this? Oh my gosh, is it so? I so welcome Dharmakirti for teaching me this thing. The humility that if your opponent is correct, you have to have that humility to accept that. Okay, I honor him, I accept him as my guru, my teacher. So this is also the culture, this is also the teaching that is coming from Kashmir. So I went quick in detail to talk about these books because these are the list we will soon forget. What I hope will not be so easily forgotten is why should one guy born and raised in Nepal should talk, at least be the first speaker on Kashmir. I have not been to Kashmir. I'm very humiliated. I hope you can guess. I love Kashmir because I have also spent 40 years of my life trying to understand the philosophies of Kashmir. Why cannot I go there? I have dreamt about going to Kashmir. In my real dreams, I have been there many, many times. And seeing my passion for Kashmir Shaivism, my gurus in Nepal recommended I go to Benares and study with Shankara Chaitanya Bharati. And when I went to Benares, and first he was not an easy guy to approach, like any of the traditional teachers. Later I found out that this is a great lineage of the Shastra writers. Our teachers did not bother in creating a cult, making followers, making money, making big ashrams. Everybody who has come in our lineage, anybody who has initiated in our lineage has written a minimum of one Shastra, one book. This is the history, this is the fact. And my guru, Shankara Chaitanya Bharati, did not even initiate me before I composed Tantra Gaubar, a Sanskrit text in 300 verses. So it was a minimum qualification to belong to the Sampradaya was itself to compose a Shastra of your own. It is still alive. And he also told that they had to move ashram. This is the Sarada Pitha. Saradamba had to be moved, I think in 47 or 48, and then after people have been, my grand teacher wrote the Darpana commentary in Sri Harsha's text that very few in India can actually read that book. Guruji wrote Darsana Sarvasva. Some of the Western scholars I have met have actually read the book and they have asked me, because as soon as they know that it was my Guruji, and they ask me how to interpret some of the sentences that he wrote there. How to keep thinking alive. So in this context, I just want to bring one example, and I would not take much of your time. So this example would be from Dalai Lama. if I were to follow, I mean following is a very compromised term for a philosopher, we don't follow anybody. But in a sense, a deep regard, I have a very deep regard for Dalai Lama. I know Dalai Lama, you can say, has not gained anything because Tibet is still Chinese and Dalai Lama is still a refugee. So as a Kshatriya, as somebody whose land is your philosophy, he doesn't have the land. But as a Brahmana, whose Brahman, the truth is your power, like my power is the truth. So for a Brahmana, what I see is in Dalai Lama, he has introduced Buddhism to the entire globe, and everybody in the West I meet, even my students, if I were to lecture more on Buddhism, they would like it better than if I spend more time with Hinduism. How is their perception built? So he has kept Tibet alive. For that, Tibet is beyond the land. Tibet is a philosophy. So the same way I think you may have the land today, for some communities may own the land, other communities may own the land tomorrow. So the kings come, kings go, many kings have ruled the earth. You cannot have too many philosophies because they are guided by the truth. There is only one absolute truth. And for that, you need a path. And there can't be infinite paths. Even paths have limitations. And for both, for the absolute description of the truth and for the path, soteriology, we are always going to be in debt of Kashmir. Not just the Kashmiri people, not the Indian people or a Hindu people, because the world has not discovered Kashmir Shaivism yet. The world, when I try to engage some of the ideas, like one small formula requires a book-length interpretation. These people write in 20 sentences and then it is so easy, it looks like, but if I were to write the way books are written in the West, that one sentence needs a 200 to 300 page interpretation. They condense their thoughts in impossible way, like today. So therefore, traditionally they wrote commentaries, but they also required a living teacher to educate students, because the meaning could not be captured in the words written, because these books were written as equations basically, and these formulas were memorized. So wherever I go, I have whatever the text I have memorized, and then I can always keep thinking about it, and then realize I'm in a mountain top like this summer when I was in a base camp, and then immediately new meaning of Chiti, Swatantra, Vishwasiddhya. Oh my gosh, I had never thought that. When I felt this snow melting beneath me, because I was looking here, all these landslide sound coming from here and coming from there, and I can't see landslide happening anywhere. And for 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, I was just looking everywhere, walking, and then couldn't see any landslide, and then I realized the land was sliding under my feet. And that moment, I get this flash. So this is, if we have memorized the text, they speak to us when the moment comes, in crucial moments. And so this is all I have to say today. It's not about me, it's about Kashmir, and let us celebrate Kashmir. But at the end, like with the organizers, what I have been saying is, keep the Kashmir alive, not as a land, but as a thought. You may win the land, you may not win the land. Winning or losing the land means absolutely nothing if you cannot keep the soul alive. And that soul is the philosophies from Kashmir. And I'm begging all of you, let's work together to keep this philosophy alive. Thank you so much.
Cremation places have been snatched from us where our ancestors were cremated for the last 10,000 years. Friends, there's actually a lot to talk, but I think I will stop because I'm getting a little emotional. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thanks.